Montreal's the one who scored the goal for the Habs?
That's right. His first NHL.
That's not even a
Wow.
goal.
That's a bad
Don't
goal.
look at that goal.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's still that's all he needs to start his
No,
confidence.
it's funny because
Oh my god, yeah, that wasn't a goal. That was bad.
The win-
that was bad.
I told you. You looking at the highlights? It's not a highlight. It's like, what is that? I don't even know how that
Oh
went
my
in.
God.
Hi, and welcome to the show. This episode, we talk about the Western Conference divisions and how the race for first place is so important to Cup hopes. We also discuss some teams that are currently clinging to a wildcard spot, but limping down the stretch. And lastly, we discuss the current overtime and shootout format in the NHL. Does Minnesota have what it takes to hold on to first place spot in the Central Division, or is the Avalanche poised to go on a late run to overtake them? Can Winnipeg find the resolve they need to solidify a wildcard spot, or are they going to run out of gas during this last stretch of games? Is the current overtime and shootout format as good as it should be, or is there a better way to do it? We're back and ready to share our views and opinions for anybody that wants to listen. So please, take a load off, relax, and welcome to Hockey for Fanatics.
Hey, but you know what? Good for him. That's like whether it was
Hey.
good or bad goal, that starts your confidence,
Yeah,
right? Like
it's-
he got on the board.
You know what they say, right? Like, at least this is, I mean, it may be a cliche or whatever, but the good players find ways to score goals. Like, the puck has eyes, they seemingly. Like, some guys
Yeah.
just, they shoot and it goes in. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come for him. So, but it's nice.
well,
But it was a
he's
shit.
small, man.
It was a
That's why I
sh-
asked you how much he weighs.
It's a
Holy
shit goal.
shit!
Yeah, Montreal, like I said in the chat the other day, Montreal's going
Yeah.
to need to insulate those prospects with some beef because they have Caulfield, they have Farrell. Who else do they have coming up? They have Missar. So there are guys that
Farrell's a nice prospect. Like I think he's a good player, but he's literally Caulfield. Like it's just now you have
No,
two
he's
Caulfields.
not. No way.
What do you mean?
it's still early.
He's no Caulfield's great. This
Yeah,
guy's come on.
Okay, but
It's too
Caulfield.
early. It's
Yeah,
too early.
Caulfield.
Yeah, it's too early. Yeah, I mean for sure. But I'm saying like in terms of what he can project into, his ceiling is what Caulfield is. Like that's like he's just gonna be another
They're
small
offensive
winger,
guys. They're offensive guys. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but tiny offensive guys.
right.
Well, we'll see.
So how you guys been? Been a while.
Good.
It's only been a week, hasn't it?
It feels like it's been forever.
This season has been a long season, man.
It has.
What about for you, Mike? For any team that's tanky, doesn't it feel extra long? Because it's like you're playing every day because you're watching the scoreboard like crazy.
Yeah, it is long, but I mean, what are you supposed to do? You just watch the games and hope that they end in with the right score that you're hoping for. Like this game against
Yeah.
Florida, I don't know if it's the best thing because I looked at Montreal's schedule, they got a pretty tough schedule down the stretch. So this game may not necessarily matter. They have some really tough games coming up. So even if they win this game, it's not the end of the world. So I still think they're going to
When
finish
Leafs were
bottom
tanking
5.
for Matthews, I didn't even care. Like
Yeah.
I would just, like it was like one of the easiest seasons of all time
Yeah.
because I would barely watch, and if they won, they won. They lost, they lost, and there's like zero control. Like there's no point getting hot or bothered if they win or lose. Like there's nothing you can do about it.
I could have
So
sworn the Leafs
like
had
if they were playing
decent
okay
record.
that night, I would watch. If they didn't, meh.
But you know what, though, Tommaso, you bring up a point there. I'm trying to recall that season because a couple things. First, unlike the Habs, pretty much everyone on that team was going to be gone anyway. We didn't, you know what I mean? I can't remember what the roster was. They were just horrible players. So it's not like, you know what I mean? At least with the Habs, there was some players during the season that they're there, they're the core, right? And also, I don't think there was that many, at the bottom with the Leafs. There was only maybe one other team. Maybe in Arizona, I can't remember, but
wasn't Buffalo, Edmonton, all those the usual suspects still there?
I think the Leafs had a gap between them. It wasn't like now where like 1 point separates the bottom three. I don't think it was ever that close.
I
But
see what you're
again, that
saying.
feels like a
Maybe.
long time ago. That feels like a lifetime ago.
What year was it?
Was
Do you
that the
guys
year
remember?
that
What year was it?
the young guys came at the end of the season? Like Willie and them? I don't remember.
It's
Or was that the
possible.
following year?
I don't remember. It could have been that year.
No, Nylander, Marner, and Matthews all came up together. I'm pretty sure. I think they all started the year together. I'm almost positive because I remember thinking I was like happy with the way they handled that because they brought up all three kids together, right? Like Nylander was playing in the American Hockey League, Marner was playing in junior, I believe, right? London. Did he go back to junior? Did he play in the American Hockey League? I
So
don't think he did.
he
No, I
started in the
never played.
OHL,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but like he had one more year in the OHL where he dominated, got MVP, all that nonsense. But I'm pretty sure Willie started a year before. Like him, Hyman,
Yeah.
like a couple of those kids got called up at the end. I remember being all
I think you're
excited.
right. I think you're right.
Yeah,
But he was in the
but
AHL. Willie went in the
yeah,
AHL. No one
yeah,
else.
Willie was AHL.
What year was this, guys? What year did they draft
20
Matthews?
2015, 2016, I think it was.
Let's see.
Fuck, it's almost 10 years.
It's crazy.
I know, crazy.
Still haven't won a round.
I knew that was coming. Oh boy,
Yeah, this could be
the
the year.
joke's right itself.
All right, so what do you guys want to talk about tonight? I figured we could talk about the West. We haven't really talked about
Yeah, start about the West.
Wow,
Like, what do you
Wild
want to do?
West?
Talk about
the
like
Wild
the
Wild West.
the guys who are gonna win it, or guys who are gonna just make the playoffs?
Well, I think we
Or
could talk
both.
about both divisions, right? Was it the Pacific
The Central.
and the Central? Right. Who do you guys think
How
is
about
going to win?
Minnesota, guys?
Crazy.
But
Mi-
they remind me of the Leafs, where until they
So that's the
actually
Central.
do something, you're not going to believe in them. You know what I mean? They have to actually prove it.
So
They do.
last,
You know
last
who Minnesota
podcast-
reminds me of?
Who?
The Islanders. Because as soon as
No.
Kiprusoff, no, listen to me. Just hold on one second. Just hear me out. As soon as they lost Kiprusoff, Kaprizov, how do you pronounce it?
Kaprizov. Yeah.
Green stuff.
As soon as they lost Kaprizov, they went back to just all defense. Like they are already a defensively structured team, but as soon as they lost him, their defensive game went to a whole nother level. It's exactly the same thing that the Islanders did as soon as they lost Barzal. They were like, okay, we're not going to be able to run and gun with teams. We're going to have to play like overly structured, overly defensive. We can't make mistakes. And look at the goalie numbers as soon as he went down. Like Fleury and Gustafsson,
yeah.
Gustafsson, both have been insane. Like Gustafsson's already had a really good year, but their numbers since that injury have been crazy. Like 945 save percentage, like they're just unbeatable. Even Fleury is now having the best part of his year right now because like it's the chicken and the egg, right? Like are the goalies playing well, meaning the team's getting success, or is the team finally playing good in front of them, which leads to the goalies performing at a high level?
It's always both,
right?
man. It's always both. You have to
Yeah,
stop
it's
what
a
you
little bit
should
of both.
stop. Like if you let in a goal, if you let in the first shot, then that's your fault. No goalie should let in a clean shot, I don't think, nowadays. Sometimes a guy's a good sniper and he's going to beat you with a shot. Okay, I get it. You can't stop everything. If he picks a corner or whatever. But if they're playing solid in front of you and you make that first stop, and it's almost like you've got a system designed to control where that rebound's going to go, and you're anticipating where that rebound's going to go, and you have faith in your goalie to make that first save, then it's like everything's in sync, right? I think you're bang on though. Like when they lost Kaprizov, they probably had that conversation as a team and said, "Hey, we got to tighten things up." And
that was a good point. Point.
Collectively, they all did it. Goalie, everybody.
Gustafsson was already having a great year before it, and you did make that point already. Fleury's a streaky goalie. Fleury is like, he's hot and cold. He's been like that his whole career, but you're right. You're bang on. As soon as Kaprizov went down, he's been lights out, like insane.
But you think about Mini, it's like they lost Fiala this year, right? They lost him as a UFA.
Right.
And no one thought they were going to be where they be right now. I mean, their offense, you would think, is even worse this year, and yet like you guys said, they're playing more defensive style, which is very conducive to the playoffs, so they'll be ready to go. But again, this is a team that, because they have a history of just choking, they got to push through. You're never going to believe in a team like that.
Is Kaprizov
You're
coming
right.
back?
Yeah, he should be back within the next couple of weeks, I think.
That guy's dynamite. So
Have they announced that? Because I didn't see that.
I
Or
didn't
you
see
just
anything either.
assuming?
It was originally a 3 to 4 week injury, and this was
Oh,
back
I
in
see.
March 7th. So I mean, I imagine there's no update, but
says
I
he's
know that they're hurting on forwards because Alex Kolakowski is playing on their forward units,
Wow.
which I found
he
funny.
was supposed to miss a month. It happened March the 8th, and they said he has not returned to the ice yet.
Wow.
That's what they
They
said.
also
Lindbergh's
have
on
Nyquist too, eh? Remember they picked up Nyquist on the trade
Yeah.
deadline. He should be ready
Again.
soon.
But these are not guys that they're not going to scare you when it counts.
Right.
But they have a top 6 already, right? So like these are bottom 6 guys in Nyquist. I don't know, man. I like Minnesota. I didn't like them at the start of the year, and I remember picking them to make the playoffs, but kind of thinking that they'd be more of a bubble team. But they've been very good this year, like very good.
I don't know if it's
That
just
Boldy
because
kid too.
yeah, he's a good player, but I don't know if it's because like Colorado really struggled at the start of the season, and now Colorado's been coming on strong lately. So you know what I mean? Like, is it just that's why Minnesota was able to get
It's goaltending too,
these
though, right?
points?
Because they got rid of Talbot and they brought in Gustafsson, and Gustafsson's had his breakout year. This has been his year. He's been dynamite all year, and he's been even better down the stretch. And having Fleury as a backup goalie is pretty much a dream.
Right?
It's a really nice tandem having those two in net, and they're scoring goals, they're playing defense, like everything's clicking. They have a decent
Who-
defense too.
They do.
Who's the
but do you
young
think,
kid? Is it Brody?
Boldy.
Brody?
Yeah,
Boldy,
Boldy.
Matthew Boldy.
I think they signed him now, didn't they not?
They did.
Yeah,
Extend him?
nice
Yeah.
contract.
7 million for the next 8 or something.
Yeah,
Everyone's
that kid.
signing for that now. That seems
That
like
kid's
the
doing
going
really
rate.
well.
They're
They
locking
have
these
some
guys up
veterans
long
too,
term.
right? Zuccarello's there, and they did okay on the deadline. They picked up Johansson, who's really sparked since he's been there, and they got Kleinberg, which adds to that defensive depth. I don't know. This team's really
He's
interesting.
not, which is rare because
Kleinberg,
he's not a defensive defenseman.
no,
He's there.
he's a power play quarterback. Like he's a total offensive defenseman.
But that's
Oh,
what
I
they
forgot.
needed.
I
That's
forgot
what
they
they
got
needed.
this guy. Wow, I forgot they
They
got
got-
Klingberg. That's actually a decent
For no-
acquisition.
Yeah, they
Well,
have
remember,
Brodin,
he's
they
the
have
guy
Spurgeon.
that went to Anaheim to try to have a good year and get his bag, right? Because he couldn't get it in the offseason. No one wanted to give him a long contract and the money that he wanted. So he goes to Anaheim to like bring up his value. And what happened? Nothing. He had a horrible year and actually lowered his value.
Well, Anaheim
Didn't
had
have
a
a
horrible year. It's
year,
not, it's
but
not his
yeah,
fault. I think the whole team stinks.
he didn't look good though. He doesn't look good. He's definitely not going to be getting
Well,
that big contract.
Who has looked good there? Like I don't.
No.
I wouldn't blame
Yeah.
one guy. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like even Zegras, yeah, he does all the freestyling stuff, but the team stinks, right? Like they're just not winning. So
Yeah.
can't blame Klingberg. I understand it, but no, I don't think anybody expected Anaheim to be this bad. I didn't. I expected them to
I
be
sure
better.
as hell didn't. I had
Yeah.
them in a playoff spot.
Wow.
Ouch.
I don't know. I
But
never.
what I was saying last podcast, I said the Leafs are going to win the cup because they have the most Penguins, and unfortunately, the Wild have the most Penguins. So that theory is shifted. This is the year of the Wild, guys. They're bringing
Yeah.
it home.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Well-
say that.
Well, you know what? I keep going on this train now. Like goaltending to me is now my number one. If you have goaltending, especially in the playoffs, I'm gonna pick you over the other team 98% of the time because
Me
that's
too.
what this league is. Like because as soon as playoff comes, the system, the style, the type of hockey is completely different than regular season. The power plays go down, like the chances go down, everything. So if you have a very strong goaltender, that goaltender can easily win you a couple rounds. So
Yeah, but
I don't know.
We've seen goalies not do well, right? Like Markstrom is not a bad goalie, and he let Calgary
Yeah.
down last year. I don't think Fleury
But that's
has
different.
done. How is it different? I think that it depends on how the guy
He had the
performs.
yips. Like
Yes, but
yeah.
who picked Edmonton to beat Calgary based on the goaltending? It was fucking an old man, Mike Smith.
Yeah.
Was what 42 years old. No one saw that coming.
I guess.
No, but do you remember that series? Like, if you actually like, I remember watching that
I
series.
watched it. Yeah.
They dominated them. Like literally dominant. It was like 14-2 in shots, and then all of a sudden Edmonton would come down one rush chance,
Yeah.
and they would score like a weak goal, and it's just like, oh my god, so deflating.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it wasn't even like Edmonton was scoring on good chances.
Yeah.
He was horrible.
But
like really, really bad.
But back
was
to your
jarring
point
bad.
though. But back to your point though, Tommaso. Are you evaluating a goalie? Like, are you evaluating based on historically? Because that's what I'm saying. Like, your
No.
point about saying I'm looking at a series and I'm 98% going to go with the team with the better goalie, but goalies falter, man. Like, I don't feel comfortable
Sure,
with
100%.
Fleury. Fleury choked against Montreal with Vegas. He blew that series for
Yeah.
Vegas. He
Yeah.
blew that series for
I don't know
Pittsburgh.
is Fleury gonna be going in as a starting goalie? Like, I guess as a veteran presence, you would.
I
Think
doubt
so,
it.
but
I doubt it.
Gustafson's been lights out like all
Yeah,
year.
Gustafson's the guy there.
Yeah.
But then, like, look at Fleury. You perfect example, like how you just mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Against LA, that first series against LA for Vegas, Jonathan Quick had a 935 or 937 save percentage, and Fleury had a 948 or something crazy like that. Like, they let in nothing, most goalies, but Fleury was just that one shot better, and he played out of his mind. And if you have a goaltender playing at that level, like, oh my god, come on, like it's
hard to
I don't
lose.
know.
Well,
It's hard
sure.
to
how-
Sometimes those guys get in a zone. But we've seen Binnington get in the zone. They ran him all the way to the cup. They rode him to the cup.
Yep,
We saw
exactly.
Cam Ward back in the day with Carolina when he came in as
Cam
a rookie.
Ward. You're right.
Well, when Montreal chased, who was it? Kevin Weeks, I think. Yeah, they chased Kevin Weeks. Kevin Weeks started the series. Montreal won the first two games. And then Cam Ward comes in. What do you got to lose? You're down in a series 2-0. Start this rookie goalie, and all of a sudden he wins the Stanley Cup. Are you kidding me?
It's so true.
You know, like
He was unreal.
So it
you
happens.
get instances that not even start goalies. Like, look at Hamburger for Ottawa. He carried them into the playoffs.
Right.
Right. That one year, he just ran off some ridiculous streak, and even LA this year, they were so desperate for goalies. They gave Sopley, who was like a journeyman, a chance, and that guy's unreal. I think he's got, I don't know, I forget the record. He's got like 20 wins and 4 losses, or I don't know. It's like incredible. Like, who is this guy? He's the nobody. So exactly what your point is, Mikey. Like, goaltenders are so weird like that. They could be magic for like a period of time, but then it's like they turn completely disoriented, and
some of them
that's
catch
why
that
the elite goalies are ones who can do it for a long period of time, rather than just short spurts.
And we know that there aren't that many of those guys left, like we've talked about before. Few and far between. You can count on one hand, and I think one hand you run
2
out
or
of,
3.
Yeah, not even exactly. So, whatever, we'll see. I'd still think but just looking at this division, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what to make of it. Like, it's still, first place is still up for grabs. It's not a foregone conclusion that Minnesota's going to win this division. Like, Dallas is there, Colorado is there. I think Colorado's been playing possum all season, man. This team, when they get
I do too.
When Landeskog is going to come back, this team's going to be a force. They're going to be
but he hasn't played all year, man. We don't know what he's going to be like.
It's true.
There's only so many. There's only so many guys that can do what Kucherov did.
It's true. It's true.
I'm not saying. Listen, I would still pick the Avs to win any series in that division. But also, you got to remember, out of the 3 teams right now, they probably have the worst goalie. If you guys are talking about goalies.
What do you mean? Gorgiev's been playing well. He's been on a great season.
You're saying as he stacks up against Ottinger, right?
Yeah, right now, in terms of goaltending, they have the worst out of all 3. So if you guys are talking about goaltending being so important,
right?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to play Dallas, right? It's looking like they're going to play Dallas. And Ottinger against Gorgiev, who are you taking then, Tommaso? If you're saying it's all about goaltending.
So for me, it's like exceptional goaltending, right? Ottinger was exceptional last year's playoffs, but he has not been that way this year, right? He's been inconsistent. So he doesn't, for me, he doesn't get that label. Like Shesterkin, like Sorokin, Vasilevsky, like when you get like a suit, like that type of goaltending, you're like, okay, I'm giving it to that guy because you know that goalie's going to win you at least like a game or two. Like in a
Gorgiev won, but what has Gorgiev won? He hasn't. Has he even started a series?
Yeah, but Colorado's shown that you don't need a superstar goaltender for that team. You just
They're
need
not
to
as
keep
deep,
them in
but
the
they're
game.
not as deep as last year.
But even at their like low point, they're still better than almost every team in the West. Like they're still a deeper team than everybody, especially with Landeskog needs to come back though, right? I think he's the key. He's the captain. He's like, I know everyone says McKinnon, McCarr, but Landeskog is like the heart and soul of that team. Like, don't kid yourself if anyone says otherwise. Like
I'm
that
not saying
guy,
that, but it's not easy to come back after
true.
having
For
not
sure.
played
for sure.
almost 12
I
months, and
was
suddenly
surprised at how well Kucherov played when he came back. He led the playoffs in scoring, I think, that year, which is insanity. I don't know.
Yep.
Maybe he was, I would say he was faking, right? But either way, even if you are faking, even if you are like to come back in the most intense part of the season without any game
Yeah.
time, like that's pretty impressive, I have to say. So
Mosso's kind
Well,
of
that
onto something though. I mean, I don't agree with the Ottinger part. I think Ottinger's. I would still take him over him any day, like in confidence wise. I know he's
right.
been a little inconsistent, but his numbers are actually been better than him this year. But his numbers, Gorgiev, they're not bad. They're actually
no, they're not. They're
really
fine.
good. Like the
Mhm.
names that you said, like Shesterkin, for example, his numbers are much better than Shesterkin's numbers, and he's actually played more games than him. So no, you're kind of onto
yeah,
something. I mean, he's a good. He's had a good year as his first year starting goalie. I think he's had a really good year.
but
Oh
goalies are
yeah.
weird, like you guys said, and it's how
Mhm.
you're trending and how you're going into the playoffs. So right now, like you guys said, the mini goalies are on fire. Then you need that confidence, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's all about confidence in that.
No, but if you're a Colorado fan and someone were to tell you Gorgiev is going to come in this year and give you this, right, and to show you the stats that he has right now, you would be like, sign me up right now,
For sure.
because
Yeah.
it's been fantastic. He's delivered. It's very similar to the Samsonov thing in the Leafs. If you told me Samsonov is going to be this, like what he's performed this year, I would have said, yeah, good luck with that. Like that'd be like a miracle if you can pull that out from this guy. But he has. So good for them. Like you like to see situations like that someone's given an opportunity and they take it and run with it.
Wouldn't it be a
Hmm.
good carrot though to like try to finish first in that division? Like I'm looking at the matchups, and
Oh
if you
yeah.
see Colorado, Dallas, like who wants to play? If you're Colorado, you don't want to play Dallas round one, and if I'm Dallas, I don't want to play Colorado round one, right? Like
No.
if you finish first
Well,
in that division, you got
that's
Seattle or
why,
Winnipeg
yeah,
waiting for
that's
your
why that loss yesterday
maybe
was
Calgary
huge.
or Nashville, right?
The Central is basically the Atlantic, and the Metro and is more like the Pacific. Like it's the same idea. It's like as Toronto, you don't want to play Tampa, but you wouldn't want to play
Well,
Boston either.
well, that's the thing. Like, yeah, ideally you finish first, but that's the way we wanted it, right? Like that's what you
Yeah.
want. You
Yeah.
want to be rewarded for finishing first because you play the weaker team. And I guess
But
if
there's
you're winning, you don't want to. You can avoid either Dallas, Colorado, or Minnesota in the first round, which is what you would want.
there's one caveat though to that. If whoever faces Calgary, and I'm starting to really get on this Calgary train, I think Winnipeg is just so bad. Whoever faces Calgary is not going to have an easy time. Like if Markstrom looks to finally starting to get his confidence back, like that team is built for the playoffs and
Hmm.
they will be a handful.
I told you.
So
Oh,
I told
like
you
I
last
don't know.
Saturday. I said when I was looking at the standings, I'm like, and I know it was premature, but I was like, Calgary's only 4 points out of a playoff spot. All it takes is one loss and a win opposite each other, and all of a sudden you're back in the game, which is exactly what happened. Calgary's on a two-game
Yeah,
winning streak. Winnipeg's on a two-game losing streak, and what do you know?
yeah.
You're 2 points out of a playoff spot, right?
Yeah.
And they play Winnipeg, right?
yeah,
So
next week.
so
Oof,
it's right there.
what a
It's right
game!
there for them.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And Winnipeg seems to be falling apart at the seams. Like the coach is
Oh
calling out his
yeah.
players, and people aren't giving enough. I mean, I guess that's kind of your last resort, right? If you're a coach, if you pretty
You
much,
got nothing left.
yeah, you're pretty much saying, and like Paul Maurice last night when he was yelling at the Panthers against the Leafs, that could have worked
Well, what
both
does he have to
ways.
lose, right?
Yeah,
Like your team is not even showing up. Your season's done. All the blame's going to come on you.
it's
So
true.
there's no point holding anything back.
Yeah, I'm not
You
gonna
might as
play
well
Mr. Nice Guy
unleash hell.
anymore. It's true.
No,
Yeah,
why would you? Just tell it as it is. Like you heard what he said to the players, right? On the bench.
right. I don't know if we can.
That's
I don't. Did he get
yeah, but
fined
you
for
know what
that?
I'm saying. It
Yeah,
wasn't very nice.
yeah.
So for him to say that, that was it. Like that was the last straw for him, and he was basically just, he just everything came out. Like everything that he's been holding on for a long time, probably, when it comes down to the way that this team was playing, and that was it.
Yeah, I think you said it
So
best. It's like you got nothing to lose. Might as well. That's it.
no.
But at Winnipeg, I don't know. I saw Bonus do the same thing. So the team
Hmm.
hasn't responded, and I've been looking at I've been following some stuff on social media with some Winnipeg fans on Instagram and stuff like that, and I think that they're in a similar situation as Vancouver, where they have some good players. It and that's why when you're not a good team, it's gonna be like this year to year. You're gonna have a year when you barely make it, and then you have a year like Vancouver when you suck and you
Yeah.
don't make it. That good teams, it doesn't happen to, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
shouldn't say it doesn't, but because I think there are always exceptions. I remember one year Tampa ended up finishing near the bottom. I can't remember who they ended up drafting. Was it Drouin? I think it might have been
Yep.
Drouin. Yeah,
True one.
yeah. And they Tampa was a much better team than that. They had a really bad year, and you can argue maybe they did that on purpose to get the top 3 pick. I don't know.
No,
All,
they got a lot of injuries that year, right?
yeah.
I remember that
So
year
I mean, I guess it does happen to good teams sometimes under specific circumstances, but
for
in
sure.
most times you're going to be in the fight, right? That's the way I see it. So I don't know. I don't
I
know
think
about
what
Winnipeg.
happens with Vancouver is what I mean. With Winnipeg was very similar to what we used to say about Vancouver. They only go as far as Demko would carry them, and
This is Hellebuck.
Winnipeg is
Yeah,
exact same. Hellebuck,
yeah.
he plays out of his mind, and Winnipeg's in the race. All of a sudden, Hellebuck is just normal,
Hmm.
or like they're not like the. If you hear the information about how bad they are offensively. Like even Kyle Connor, who's like fantastic player, he's got one goal in like 14 games. Like their guys are not scoring. They got Eller, who's one of their most offensive players, playing on the fourth line, getting 8 minutes a game. Like what's going on there? Like
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't know. I don't know what's going on in Winnipeg.
That's a strange team. I never got a sense of. I think at one point they had some promise earlier when Maurice had first taken over the team, and they had Bufflin and
Oh yeah,
I think Evander Kane was there too. Like they had, or maybe it was after Kane left. I can't. Either way, I think at one point when Bufflin was there and he was the captain or one of the
Trouba.
leaders on the team, Truba, they had. That's right. They had more of a promise to them where they were building that grittier type of team.
but
And
they had
then,
an identity,
yeah,
right? They
yeah,
were like Bufflin brought that. Like they
yeah,
were a team that you did not want to play, right? They were
right.
just so hard nosed and they beat you up, and it was just a tough. They don't have no identity now. That's why, right?
They have some
They
good
lost it
players. They have some good players. It's just at some point it needs to work. If it's not going to work, then you're going to have to make some decisions on some guys. Do you commit to
for
Shifley?
sure.
Shifley's going to come up, and Dubois doesn't want to commit long term. I don't know. If I'm a Jets fan, I'm shaking my head at this point. I would say the
Oh,
GM probably has outstayed his
he's been
welcome
there
there.
too long. I
Yeah,
think we covered this at the beginning of the year. He's been there too long. They missed the boat. They missed the boat on turning the page, and now they're going to be forced to make deals, and they're going to be dealing from a weird spot because we know
Yeah.
Dubois doesn't want to be there anymore. Like, how are you going to get full value for these guys?
yeah.
Shifley's a year older. The Wheeler's a year older.
Yep.
Sometimes it's you have to make the call at the right time. We went through with the Leafs where 2 years ago was the time to make changes. They didn't. Calgary, they had a chance last year to start getting rid of it, and they didn't. Vancouver was in the same boat, and now Winnipeg's in the same boat.
But the problem with Winnipeg is extremely infuriating for our Winnipeg fans. Is ownership loves the GM because like he's their guy, and the reason he's been there for so long is he's already in a bad situation, right? Like no one wants to go to Winnipeg, so he's already at
Yeah,
a
but
disadvantage.
but what do you mean goes to
Uh,
Winnipeg though? I always laugh when I hear that argument because UFAs don't. It doesn't matter. Who cares about UFAs? You can build a team without a UFA. You know what I
Well,
mean?
What do you mean it
no,
doesn't matter?
Tommaso's right
When you're
because
a
their
restricted
own
free agent, you
players
have a
leave.
decision to sign for with a team. Like look what's happening with Dubois. Like he's not going to want to extend with them. So you can draft, develop these guys, and you're just going to lose them.
Yeah, that's
So it
fair. You
definitely
do you
matters.
get them. You're right, and that means that you're right. Long-term commitment is going to be a lot harder, but you got to find the
Truba,
players that want
another
to
one.
play for you as well
Laine.
Also, you gotta sign them long term when they're
when
young
they
too. They
have
didn't do that with
Yeah,
Line, right?
yeah,
Line, what they give him a bridge.
yeah.
yeah.
Dubois, bridge. Like that's not how you operate a team like that. It's like they're gonna be like those teams in soccer where they're at the bottom just feeding up. They're the minnows, right?
Yeah.
They're just gonna
Yeah,
be
but
having to trade these guys.
maybe they're only willing to sign those bridge deals. Like we don't know what the negotiations are like. There could be a reason why that's happening. They don't want to
Yeah,
Well,
the
sign long term.
players.
Yeah,
Get
they
The
just want
players
to
overpaid.
get
don't want to
but when
sign
They get
they're
long term.
overpaid.
but when
but
they're
they get
young,
rid of their RFA status and then they can force their hand, trade me or I'm gonna walk. Right?
well,
Like that's why
Yeah.
they're doing this.
in some cases you can do that. It's is it going to happen more often? Time will tell. This Dubois situation is a little bit unique because it's the Montreal thing too, and that Montreal media machine is going to do what it can to print articles or get how many clicks they
Yeah.
need. So I don't know. We haven't
But
seen
is
it.
it?
Have we
Is it
seen it
really
in?
unique?
But have we seen it in
It just
Winnipeg?
happened 2 years ago with Truba. I want to go to New York.
Well,
And he went to New York,
A little bit longer than
right?
2 years, but yeah, you're thinking Line was
Yeah.
2 years.
but Laine did Laine want out? I don't think Laine wanted
Yeah,
out.
Line asked for a trade. I thought.
No.
I thought he
Dubois
wanted
wanted
tons of
out.
cash, and I think he
Dubois
wanted a
wanted
lot of
out.
money.
Dubois wanted out of
I think it was
Columbus.
both. I think he was just like not really a good situation there, and they saw another situation that they felt could have worked better for them in Dubois. I think it was a little bit of both, right?
Either way, I guess what I'm saying is that we can't. We're not Winnipeg fans that know the ins and outs of all the different things that happen with the team. So we only know what's happening on the surface. So I would still like if I'm a Winnipeg fan and I would accept the truth. The reality is, yeah, you're not going to get UFAs, so that means that you need to get guys that when you draft them, they're going to be proud to play for you, and you need to sort of build that or foster that attitude or create that attitude that you want them to stay there. You want to build a good environment for them to not want to leave. If you build,
Yeah.
I'm a believer that if you build a good team, I think guys will stay. Maybe I'm wrong. I would stay.
Wheeler stayed. People were shocked when
I would
an
stay.
American
Yeah.
signed long term there, right? I mean, that team was ready to win, and they just never did. And now they took too long. You got to know when to cut bait. They took too long.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it came down to. Because if they would have transitioned some of those assets into draft picks or young prospects,
Exactly. The guys that
and you
that
know,
have no choice, they're gonna get drafted and they're gonna play with you for at least 4 or 5 years, no matter what.
Yeah.
let me ask you,
Look,
Mike, for regarding Dubois,
Yeah.
what would it take? Like, how does a trade work? Because he's an RFA, right? So what would they do? Trade his rights to the Habs? Let's say if that
yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
So he's an RFA. So I heard, let me explain what I heard first. And it's a pretty interesting thing because there's a member of the Montreal media, I think his name is Marco D'Amico, that wrote this article, which I thought was a really genius article. Uh, he's suggesting, so the Canadians and the Jets have had talks about Dubois. It's no secret. And it really comes down to the return. What is the return going to be for a guy like Dubois? If everything that has been known, the asking price has got to be coming down for sure if you're the Montreal Canadiens. You're not going to give up as much because you're like the guy doesn't want to commit to you long term,
Yep.
and the Canadians it's almost like everyone in the league knows it's the worst kept secret, right? And that's where it really is something that I think the league should look into. I don't like, as much as Montreal's kind of probably come out on the positive end of this, assuming that Dubois ends up becoming a good player for them. That could still be a curse. Who knows? But I don't like the way that you can just go to the media and start to say, I want out of here and I want to go here. But we've seen other players do it with other teams. But anyway, the article that was written basically suggested that the Canadians would offer sheet Dubois for $6.4 million. And Winnipeg would have the right to match and or walk away. And basically, if they were to match it, then they would not be able to trade him for a calendar year, and they would lose him for nothing at the end of that contract, which was pretty sneaky move if you're the
But
Canadians, if that's what you do.
which first round pick would they have to give up for it?
The Canadians, they would give
Yeah.
up.
Florida.
It would be it would be so this would be after the draft.
So it'd be the following
Well,
year.
well, that's a good question. That's a good question. I guess timing matters. So it would matter when you would make that deal. So
I think Montreal would be crazy to risk trading a first round pick.
no, they're not going to do
give-
this. They're not going
If
to.
it's me,
Yeah,
I
no,
would
that
give
would
them
be madness.
I would give them Florida's pick this year if it's in
But that's
high teens.
But the reason why I mentioned this first is because that's going to sort of be the starting point for what a deal could look like. So
Yeah.
if the Canadians,
That's why I was asking.
yeah,
you. That's
yeah,
why I
if
want
the if the Canadians didn't make an offer, they're going to basically say we're going to sign this guy, and then you're going to get stuck, and the only thing you're going to get is a first and a third round pick, which isn't a bad thing. Montreal could still be a bad team after this year, and Winnipeg could end up with a top 10 pick potentially. But the Canadians probably wouldn't want to risk that either. And
Yeah.
but at
too
least
risky.
that's the starting point for what a deal could look like. So
Yeah, and that's why you say, or you can be safe and take the first round this year. Here it is, just one pick. You know what I mean?
But do you trade Dubois for just the first? I think
What-
that's kind of
What are you
low,
saying?
don't you
It's
think?
too low. I know,
that-
but they're in a
Yeah.
bad
But
but
position.
that's what I just told you, Tomas.
Winnipeg's in a bad spot.
Montreal can offer sheet them, and then Winnipeg has no choice, and they're going to have to take a first and a third,
Yep.
and that's it. A first and a third. That's what you get for that deal. So that's going to be the baseline of any trade, and maybe Montreal sweetens the pot and beats that, but I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work out. It's interesting. To me, this is probably the most exciting part of the year for me.
I think that guy's dreaming because that would be a cool thing to do. But the GMs in the NHL, like, very rarely do things like that because it puts them in a bad situation. Like, it's just like one of those like hidden code things with each other, and the GMs don't necessarily do that to each other. I don't know why they don't. Like, if it's improving your team, you should do it, right?
Well, that's why I think that it's a threat. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do it, but it's going to be the basis of what the value or what the return could be, right? I'm not saying they would do it. They would just say, hey, if you give us no choice, we're going to do it. But if you want to negotiate in good faith before, let's start with a package around what that would look like, a first and a third, right? And then you can say, okay, instead of a third, we'll give you this prospect. And
No, it has to happen because this is it for Winnipeg, right? Especially if they miss the playoffs, that it's time to blow it up. It's a perfect time to get Dubois. It's a perfect scenario. It worked out.
Hey, time will tell.
Imagine what they can get for Hellebuck. We just keep talking about how there's not many 1A goalies out there, and you put them on a good team that needs a goalie. You have a chance to actually do your rebuild right there in 1 year.
I said it many times. Like Carey Price for the Habs was dying on the vine, and that's essentially what they did. I know they ended up going to a final. We all saw how it ended, though. You need the team in front of you. So I'm with you, Dave. I think.
Can you imagine the Habs do a 2-for-1, like Hellebuck and Dubois?
Oh.
Like, talk about restart, like, speeding through your rebuild. That would be like boom in a hurry. Right?
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
How much money are you adding right there to your salary cap, though? Because what do they make? Like that's already another close to 15 million, probably.
Dubois, they're not that high.
Dubois is gonna want.
Still got to pay call. Caulfield's still got to get paid.
Yeah,
right?
but who else do they have? Who else are they paying in
just
Montreal?
Saying, you got to
Nobody.
Just got to be careful.
What do you guys think of Seattle? Like, I don't know what to make of this team. They're still.
I'd love to play them first round. Whoever gets them, who's going to get them? As of right now, who is it? Is it Vegas that gets them?
It's tough to say.
It'd be
As
Minnesota right now.
Yeah.
Like as of right now.
But it's like 1 point difference. Like it's impossible.
It's a 1 point difference.
Yeah.
Seattle can still miss too. I mean, we're talking Winnipeg is going to miss, but if Winnipeg gets a little bit hot and Seattle has a couple bad games down the stretch here, they're the ones who are going to miss because it's only a 3 point difference from them and Winnipeg.
Yeah, but they got 2 games in hand.
The games in hand, those are huge.
You're right, though.
When you're talking like 8 games left.
They're 4-4.
It's
they're playing
tough,
500.
right?
If you play 500 the rest of the way, you're fine. Like that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be impossible for teams to catch you. So, yeah.
I remember when Islanders were like ahead of a couple teams, but they had the teams below them had all these games in hand. Yes. So I'd hear all the time that they have all these games in hand. Like that's on the assumption that those teams win all those games, right?
Yep.
And it's not easily like that's not like a guaranteed thing. Like look what's happening with all these teams, like Florida and Pittsburgh and Ottawa and Buffalo. How many have they lost recently? And it's not a guaranteed thing at all. So I'd rather have the wins in the bank. Like those things are so important. So I don't know if it's going to be easy for anyone to catch Seattle.
Points are going to be harder to come by too at the end of the season. Like it's just that much harder to gain the ground, like we know. I'm not saying you're wrong, Giancarlo. It's still mathematically possible, but I just think that what a road record for Seattle. You guys see this? It's 20. They're 24-10, 24-10-4 on the road. I don't think I've ever seen that before. That's nuts. And they're like a 500 team at home. Huh.
Yeah, that is weird.
That is really strange. I mean, they're building a fan base, so good for them. I don't think they're going anywhere though, so they'd be the ideal first round opponent for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Could be the 2 expansion teams there, Vegas against Seattle. That's possible.
Yeah, they're just happy.
That'd be kind of interesting.
They would just happy to be invited to the dance. And
exactly.
And then it would be a quick exit.
If they were in the East, they would not be in the playoffs. Like they would have been murdered by now.
Yeah.
Attention sport card enthusiasts. Looking for a convenient and reliable way to expand your collection? Look no further than Fanatics Collectibles Canada. This online shop is your one-stop destination for all things card sports, from vintage to modern, from football to hockey to basketball and more. They even got some bench warmers. The selection is second to none, featuring rare and exclusive players from top players and teams. Whether you're a serious collector or you're just starting out, they will have something for you. And with their easy-to-use website and secure online checkout, you can browse and purchase cards from the comfort of your own home at any time, any day. So why wait? Visit the online shop today at www.fanaticcollectibles.com and start building the collection of your dreams. With their vast selection, unbeatable prices, and dedicated community, you're sure to have a winning experience every single time.
What about the other division? We talked a little bit about Vegas. What do you guys think of the 3 teams, Vegas, LA, and Edmonton?
The division? I don't know. That's going to be tough.
Because again, like let's play that game where if you finish first in your division, then you're going to end up with a Seattle or a Winnipeg in the first round. That's a big difference than an LA or an Edmonton or a Vegas. Again, same thing that happened.
Sure.
So that drop off is significant after those top 6 teams, right? So
I would not want to be 2 or 3. That's all I'm saying. Because that 2 or 3 is going to be a hell of a series.
Murder.
That's going 7 games, and you're going to be in a war. Whoever gets that first place, like you said, is going to be. Well, it depends who's got more points. Like, what's the other division? The other division is Minnesota.
They're literally 1 point apart. It's that close.
It's too close. Yeah, it's too close still.
But either way, you're getting
whoever
Seattle
gets
or Winnipeg. Yeah.
is going to have a hard time. Whoever
Yeah,
gets the other team,
I hear what you're
it'll be
saying.
4 or 5 games.
I hear what you're saying. Calgary is going to be a tough out. I hear what you're saying. It's not a foregone
Yeah.
conclusion that it's a soft one. It's still easier than an LA or an Edmonton though. That's the way I see
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Like Calgary, I know Calgary would be tough, and like with a coach like Sutter, that they're gonna show up, they're gonna give everything they have. That's gonna be a tough series, no doubt. But they're not like they were last year for me. So they still would potentially be tough, but I wouldn't be as afraid of them. They wouldn't strike that fear in me. I could be wrong, but
Sure. Selfishly, wouldn't you want a Calgary Edmonton first round? I would love to see that again, right? Just so they can kill each other.
oh man,
I would love it.
oh I used to love those.
I don't think that can happen though. I don't see how that can happen.
Well, I could,
No,
If
it can't.
Edmonton
No,
finishes
yeah,
first,
it could, yeah.
yeah,
if
Yeah.
Edmonton finishes
I
first,
know, but
that's
then they
the
got to
only
finish
way.
ahead of Mini though.
right. They
They're
got
2 points
yeah.
out.
They're only 2 points behind Mini. Yep.
Yeah, no,
And-
it's doable.
It is doable. It is. I mean, they're what? It's 82 games, so there's only 7 games left. Edmonton's got. So I haven't really looked at the strength of the schedules for all these teams, but that's going to factor into. It's so tough though. You really want to avoid that bona fide tough first round matchup. LA's been on an
Yeah.
absolute tear, and you wouldn't want to play them. Like they didn't have Doughty last year in the playoffs, right?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty big piece. I'm not a huge LA fan, but they're one of those teams that can win a couple rounds. I can see that. I can see them winning a couple rounds if the stars align for them. So I mean, Dave's always been a fan of Edmonton. He's had Edmonton in the finals before.
It's the total opposite. I just don't. I just feel like they have. I mean, you have the best player in the world. You have a conference that pretty wide open. I think they've improved their goaltending from last year. I think Skinner is going to be their guy. Their defense got a touch better. They got Nugent Hopkins who's on fire this year.
I don't get that.
I just think they're going to be a tough out. I really do. The road is there for them to go to the finals. They can beat any of those teams ahead of them.
It's going to be really hard for teams to stop McDavid. He seemed to score at will last year. It didn't matter who he played against. The goaltending obviously let them down. So this year, if they can get anywhere close to decent goaltending, he's going to get his points, right? It's gonna be really tough. I don't see. You might be right, Dave. Like looking at the West, now that we're focusing on it, Colorado sticks out as a team that is, I think, underachieving, and they're gonna be really, really difficult to beat as the defending champs too. Edmonton is gonna be there. I'd say I think the top 6 teams are pretty good. Minnesota, for me, I'm not as high on. Um,
Me neither.
but yeah, Colorado, Edmonton, Vegas is another one. I like them, but I don't know. What like has anyone watched Vegas at all? Or are they like a I know that they were a big team when they played Montreal. Are they still a physical team?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now their number one
Yeah.
goalie's Quick.
Yeah.
Can you imagine they get LA first round? LA is gonna holy shit.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That'd be funny.
Come on, that would be amazing. I don't know. I pick
Yeah.
He's become their number one goalie due to injuries, and he's playing well. He's got
Wouldn't
a good
that
team
be
in front
awesome
of him.
though? That would be pretty awesome if that happened. Like LA must feel stupid if they did if that actually
No.
happens.
No, but you can't fault LA because they gave Quick every opportunity and he was horrible. Like let's not kid each other. He was horrible. For them to let Sopley, a journeyman, take the reins, like that's how bad Quick was. So like I know this whole narrative, oh LA did this, like at some point you gotta make a decision. Like this team is too good to let them just flounder the rest of the year. They knew that if they got some stability at goaltending, that this team would thrive. And that's exactly what happened. I think they've lost one game since the trade deadline. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think they did the right decision.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Quick's numbers. His numbers aren't great with Vegas. He's played 7 games.
Yeah, they're actually pretty bad.
Yeah, he's sub 900. So I know
What's
that
his record?
He's 5-2. He's won,
Yeah.
but 3.5 goals against average is not great, and he's an .896 save percentage. So I know that stats don't always matter, but those are pretty those are pretty high when
They're
it
pretty
comes.
bad.
Yeah. You really want to see a goalie.
And that's equivalent to what he was doing in LA. Those are the numbers that he
Yep.
had in LA as well. So that's why he was moved in the first place.
Yeah, they walked on from him.
Mhm.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think I've seen something I've never seen for the first time in maybe years. I just seen DeBrincat fight. I don't know if you guys have any games on, but DeBrincat got into a fight, and then DeHarnay. How do you say his name? The guy in Philly.
Deloria.
Yeah,
Deloria.
Yeah.
He got into a fight with Watson. He beat him up, and then another guy jumped in as they were going off, and he got into another fight as he was leaving.
Deloria? He got into 2
Yeah,
fights.
another guy. Yeah,
Holy crap!
That guy's an animal. That guy loves to fight.
and he was enjoying every minute of it.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Man,
he's perfect for Philly.
You know what irritates me? Because I mean, he's a monster now. He played for Montreal, and he got his head cracked open by a buffalo saber. I can't remember who it was, but he got his skull fractured in a fight, and he was never he was never the same with Montreal. Like he was when he came back, he just I don't blame him, you know, like you can tell that he's not 100% and who wants to fight when you're you know you got your head cracked open.
For sure.
So, but he doesn't seem like it's bothering him now, and he seems to be a physical presence out there. And
he's
he's
recovered.
a decent hockey player too. So I always like
They
that guy.
signed him long term too, didn't they? They gave him like a weird contract.
Who, Philly? Yeah.
Yeah, when they signed him, I was like, what?
Yeah, they're overpaying him for sure. But
Well, it wasn't even that he was overpaid. They gave him like 6 or 7 years on whatever his contract is.
I don't know if it's that high. Let me check.
Is
I know
it 5 years?
It was
I know
a longer term, but just so that he can keep the AAV down.
Yeah.
Islanders did the same thing with like Clutterbuck, and they're tough guys.
it's a 4-year deal.
Oh, is it 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years, 1.75. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't be paying that guy that money, but that's just me. He's also 32.
What? How much? 1.7?
1.75.
Yeah, that's nothing for a
Uh,
guy like that you need in your lineup.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
They were criticized when they made the trade, but I think that he's turned it around. Like what Mike was saying, he went a little bit more soft.
I wouldn't say soft.
After
He
they-
just he
Not
was
soft,
he
but
was
like
tentative.
more
He was-
cautious.
let's just
yeah.
say he was tentative. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go
exactly.
ask Anaheim how good and how needed he is, because since he's been gone, those stars have disappeared. Right? Like
True.
he gives your guys room to breathe. You know, like
Yeah,
you
those
need
guys
those
still-
type of players.
Those guys still play a role. I know that people have been like hockey's been changing and fighting is no longer. They're trying to get rid of fighting. They're like, getting rid of any type of physical play. But I'm sorry, hockey will always be a physical game. And when you have those guys
Yep.
on your team, they're gonna make a difference out there for you. It's such a weird thing. Like
100%.
people that don't play don't understand. You know,
Yeah.
they don't understand the role that those guys play. That's just, and you can see it. Like you saw it with Reeves too. Reeves went to Minnesota. That's another one. They've been an amazing team with him, right? Oh, did you guys see did you guys see the Michael Pizzetta celebration?
Yeah.
What
That was good.
I want to know, what are your thoughts on that? Like, is this a disrespectful
Why
thing,
not?
or are you guys okay
No.
with it?
Why disrespectful? Why?
Well, no, I'm asking you because there was
No, but why would anyone think it's disrespectful? Did he do
well,
anything?
so the Montreal media has a habit of anytime something happens, they always will comment on it, and it was actually my good buddy Michel Therrien that commented on it, saying that you're embarrassing the other team when you do that, and that was pretty much
Come on.
that was pretty much what he was saying with Subban as well. So I'll give him one thing: he's consistent with his opinions, because when Subban would do his 005 at the end of a game, Therrien cut it out and said, "You're embarrassing the other team. You're not doing that anymore." And he literally shut it down, right? So he is consistent, but you obviously you don't agree with his opinion.
No. So for context, I saw that, right? I saw that whole situation.
Yeah.
And you play it off your team and your coach, right? And Michelle, the coach, he was totally having fun with the shootout. You could totally tell.
St.
He was
Louis?
sending out
Yeah,
defensemen,
St.
for
Louis.
Christ's sakes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, Martin St. Louis was having fun with it. So it rubs off on the player. He's like, I'm going to have some fun with this. Like, you're not sending out Pizzetta to win the game. Like, you're sending him out, like, just,
I
he
don't
doesn't
think I've
care
ever
at this
seen.
point. He's like,
I don't think I've ever seen
Yeah.
a poor shot selection in my entire life. Like,
exactly.
I think the Canadians were trying to lose that game when they were sending
Yeah,
out Kovacevic.
100%.
Kovacevic was going to take a shootout. I'm like, what is this?
I was going crazy when they were sending out these guys. I'm like, dude, you're trying to lose?
Mike Matheson.
I'm like, what's going on?
Mike Matheson took a shot. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know what? Let him have some fun. Who cares? I thought that was fantastic. Like, you give him a moment, you know,
Are
in
all
that guy's career that he had some fun. Who cares?
are all three of you guys feel the same way?
I roll my eyes big time when I see people complaining over that kind of stuff. Unless it's the way Kuznetsov celebrates, and then I understand the criticism.
With the
Because that
bird
guy just looks like a moron
when he does that bird thing.
Yeah, he looks like there's something mentally ill with him when he does that. Like, it's so hard on the eyes.
But why though?
That
Why?
was
It's just
beautiful.
a celebration. It doesn't
Well,
bother me.
part of it is because he plays on the Capitals, but then the other part of it is just because it looks stupid.
I think the way that he does the shootouts in general is a different conversation. Because, like, have you seen how he does it?
amazing.
Don't even get me started.
It's
I don't
amazing.
know
Oh
how
my
that's
God.
even allowed. It should
What?
not
How is that
be
allowed?
What do you stop? Why are you saying?
How?
How can you say that, Giancarlo? What kind of a what's he doing that's wrong? There's nothing wrong.
Have you seen it?
Yeah,
Have you seen it?
understand,
Yeah.
I understand there's no time limit on a shootout and how long you're allowed to take, but come on. This
No.
guy is just like,
Dude,
he's
it's
milking
incredible.
it. Like,
It's incredible.
no, it's not incredible. It
You know
ruins
it's
the shootout.
coming. No, it doesn't. You know it's
It-
coming.
You're basically
You should
putting
not
the
be
goalie
allowed
to
do
sleep.
that. Yeah,
That's
you're
it.
not. You should not allow
Putting us
to
to
do
sleep, not just the goal.
Yeah, I think that's gone too far. They
Oh,
he
Shootouts are
took
supposed
what
to be a
Kane
fast
does
pace.
and it took it to another degree.
Yeah, no, it looks awful.
Come on.
It makes the shootout worse than it is.
Come
like
on.
already the
Yeah.
shootout's very dull, and I think a lot of hockey fans are just tired of seeing it. But
Yep.
then when you see that, it's like it's almost like he's feeding into how bad the shootout is, and he's like, yeah,
he's
let me
making
make
a
it
mockery
worse.
of it.
But
He's
guys,
making a mockery.
100%.
That
but
was
what's
the
he
word I was
doing?
looking
What's
for.
he doing that's not legal? Like, there's nothing wrong with what he's
He's not
doing.
moving the
not
puck
illegal.
forward.
Not
He
illegal.
stopped skating. He stopped skating.
No, he doesn't stop skating. He is
No,
still
he does.
that
he is
he does.
glides.
forward progress
Yeah,
is fine.
okay, you're right.
You glide, you still have forward progress. You
But
don't
he's
have to.
barely moving. He's
that's-
just letting the wind take him.
If you ask
The wind
me,
from the frickin' ice take
if you
him.
ask me, that is a advantage to the goaltender. To me, like if you
No,
don't come with any
boring.
speed,
No,
oh come on, man.
Mikey,
You
it's just a bad look. That's all he's
the
getting
goalie's
at, right?
falling asleep watching that. Like he's just like it
Ah.
doesn't look good. There's nothing positive you can say. What positive
He
is
scores.
there on that?
He scores. What do you mean? What positive? If
No,
if he
but
plays
what's
for you,
besides scoring?
what do you mean besides scoring? That's what the objective is. Like, I don't know.
They'll bring it up at the GM meeting
Come
next time.
on.
That'll be their whole weekend.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that they care. I don't think anybody cares about anything in the shootout. They're happy when it's over. You get a point
then-
anyway. Who cares?
Well, they're gonna go to 7 minutes soon anyway, so hopefully there's even
Yeah.
less shootout.
I think they're going to eventually move to longer 3-on-3 and then slowly go away from the shootout because the shootout I think is gone now. Like the whole interest and excitement for
Yeah, but the
shootout
3-on-3
is slowly
Guys,
just
can I
like
be honest with you? I would rather them scrap the shootout and scrap overtime and just call it a tie.
That's
Uh,
gone,
yeah.
man.
You're
They'll
giving,
never
you're
go.
giving
They won't go
everybody a
back to
point.
that.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Giancarlo,
won't
they
go
used
back
enough with the
to that.
parody. Enough with the
but
parody.
Giancarlo, they used
Hey,
to have
1
it.
point each.
I don't know if you remember Giancarlo.
I do remember it. Yeah.
No,
it was fine.
no. But I'm saying like when they used to have regular overtime.
Mhm.
Do you remember
Yeah,
that? Were
5
you?
on 5 for 5 minutes.
Yeah, they would just have 5-on-5 for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You score, you
I would,
win.
I would get rid of that. I would get rid of it all. I would just you play 60 minutes. If the score is tied, you're tied at the end. You're both going to get a point. Done.
I never
because you're-
minded the 5-minute overtime myself.
No,
'cause-
but it's just everything gets dull. Eventually, it's like you're bored of this, or the players are tired. They're complaining that it's too much hockey. So just play your 60 minutes. You both get a point. None of this overtime loss garbage. Just building up points for making it to overtime. Like, come on. No,
It's just-
both teams
it's
get
just-
a point for a tie. Done.
But
move on.
it's just to keep teams close in the standings.
No, but
We
I'm
know why they
tired of
do
seeing
it. But
that parity. I understand. We could have a whole podcast on that, but
well,
enough
I
with
mean,
the parity. It's just let the good teams be good. If you're gonna do that, then reward a team 3 points for winning. Not
well,
give them
that's
2.
talk. That they're having talks about that too. But I mean, they went to 4-on-4, then people figured out how to trap that. Now they went to 3-on-3.
Well, 3-on-3 too, they figured it
I
out.
know.
It's the same thing over and over again.
There's,
Why do you think
but
Edmonton wins every time?
There's a way to fix that though, and I know they won't do it. There's a way to make it that it's even more offensive. That these guys, once they cross the blue line, they take the puck
You
back
can't
out.
pull back.
No, enough of this shit. Just once you commit to
I
go
agree
in,
with that.
you can't go back out because that's just you're just dragging the play on and on. You know what happens once a team gets into that zone? If they take a shot and miss, it's a 2-on-1 the other way.
Yeah.
So if you commit to offense once you get into the blue line, the overtimes will go quicker and then they'll end quicker too. But this dragging the puck back and forth, you're just waiting as they make changes, and it's
I hate
much,
it.
man.
I hate the 3-on-3 now. People.
I don't like it either.
It was unreal when it first came out. Like the first season, I was so excited when the game went to 3-on-3, but now I roll my eyes.
You know why?
Yeah, but if you make those changes, what Dave just said, I think you can bring it back. I think it can get back to what it was, right?
Yeah, but then what are you gonna do? Like, eventually the shootout's got to go. The shootout is beyond dull. I don't. The players don't even like doing it anymore. It's boring.
Shootout's got to go for sure.
It's got to go. So I mean, I don't know.
I don't
if
think
you're gonna make it 7 minutes, but then what?
Yeah, they're just gonna extend the overtime, and then maybe if
but do they go back to a shootout after that 7 minutes, or is the game ended in a tie? Like, it seems like they want a winner, right?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Me personally, I already said I would go tie. Because already you're giving the loser a point. Then nobody gets the extra point. You both are losers for tying. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, but the other thing you have to remember is in terms of excitement level, 3-on-3 brings a lot of excitement, and they don't want to remove something. No, but it still does. Like if you do a poll with like fans like 3-on-3 in terms of excitement, and I don't think they're going to be in the business of trying to remove excitement from the game, right? So I don't know. I can't see them taking 3-on-3 away. Like Dave was saying, they're talking about extending it, right? And I think that's what eventually they can do. They just put that one aspect, make it almost like an offside rule, but just the opposite. If you pull back from that blue, it's a whistle. Like, I don't know, it's something, right? You maybe a 2-minute delay a game, like anything. You can stop that in a hurry, and as soon as you do that, then the 3-on-3 will be way better. There'll be none of this garbage anymore.
But
I agree with that.
But why did they go from 4-on-4? Like, Dave, you said that they figured out how to trap that. Like, why wasn't 4-on-4? Like, what was the problem with 4-on-4?
They were still getting to more and more shootouts, right? They're almost like they're playing for the shootout.
I never understand why teams do that. Like, why would you play for a shootout?
Well, if you have the better skilled guys, if you have the better skilled shooters, you're going to play for the shootout for sure. You're not going to take those risks, right?
That's fair.
It's been more open, right? With 3-on-3, it's more open, but again, it's the dragging of the puck and just half the overtime is just holding onto the puck.
I like your suggestion, which you said, like with this. Once you pass the blue line, then you can't go back.
Yeah, I really like that. Actually,
it's almost like you would put yourself offside if you went back out with the puck. You know, you'd have to pass to somebody else, right?
Well, look what happened with Calgary and even Islanders. The amount of points that they've lost because they suck at shootouts. Like it's incredible.
Not just shootouts. You got to win, right? Like you're in overtime for 5 minutes. Go score. Like you're 3-on-3. You don't go right to shootouts. I know what you're saying, but you know what I'm saying? Like go if you got 3-on-3 and you're not good at it, then maybe you got to practice a little bit. Put your 3 best players on the ice and say,
but
just
that's
go and
different.
Score.
That's no longer hockey, right? 3-on-3 is not hockey.
No question.
It's just like basketball now. Your best 3 against the other 3.
Yeah, it's like shinny.
That's not hockey.
Yeah, it's shinny.
Yeah.
It's like shinny. Yeah, it's like playing hog. Team hog. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you still...
I don't think you should be penalized for for that. Like that's why I agree with Dave. Like if they removed it entirely and just like as soon as the game is over, it's a tie, it's a tie. That's it. I would have no problems with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
You know,
But
like
you're never
I
gonna.
don't know.
We know that that's not gonna happen, right? That's why
No, never.
we're trying to be like realistic with what they come up with because they don't want to get away from the 3 points or the loser points because that's what keeps these phony teams in playoff spots for longer. And the playoff race is what it is because of all that. We're looking at
So
the
true.
Western Conference being separated by 1 point. That's the reason because of all that crap. So
They love it. This is what they love.
yeah, that's what they want
And
because
it's
it keeps guys like us talking about it. But the point is that when we look at these teams, you know the difference between the teams that are phony and the teams that are not, right? Like maybe the casual fan doesn't. And everyone has a chance statistically. If you get into the playoffs, they always say get into the playoffs, anything can happen. But I don't know. I'm never a believer of that. I think that the better teams end up, especially now. I think we're seeing that even more so. It used to be easier to upset teams in the past. I don't know. I don't see the upsets happening as much anymore.
Well, there's still at least one every round, right?
One every playoff.
So
yeah.
it's still there.